Schlossberg, Managing Director at BK Asset Management.
BK Asset Management's Kathy Lean.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. It's so great to be back on the desk and, talking to all of you. So please say hello to me. Let me know that, you're here, and, you're ready to talk about what's going on in the markets. Good morning, Fred. Hello. Who else is here? Let me know who else is here in the room right now and, ready to go through, everything they need to know about this trading week, because we're certainly kicking off with some nice volatility in the markets. Good morning, Glad. Good morning, Peter. Hi, you're on me. Good morning, everyone. Like I said, it is so great to be back on the desk. I had a fantastic time, in China with my family. It was great, and I'm actually surprised because usually when I am on vacation, we have some really big moves in the markets, and we did have some good sized moves, but it wasn't, these breaking stories that I missed. I mean, if you think about it, not much has changed from 2 weeks ago to today. We're still in the midst of the US-Iran war. It's still a headline-driven market. A deal has still not been reached, and that was the case 2 weeks ago. That's the case today. And actually, what was really interesting is that there was hope going into this weekend, and we saw the euro at a 5-week high. We saw markets recover, but now stock futures are down 500 points. Oil prices are up almost 8%, and we're back to the same story that we had before. So that's really what we're going to be talking about this morning, because it is a week where we have some pieces of data that is certainly worth watching, but we don't have as much that I think is going to drive the markets like it was before. But let's go ahead and talk about it. Good morning, Green. You can feel free to chat in the chat. That's definitely something that I'll be watching as we talk. But first, the very first thing I want to share with you is my screen. Hold on one second where I get everything organized, because I do want to see you. In the meantime, let me know what you're trading. Are you trading futures? Are you trading Forex? We're going to make sure that we talk about this. For those of you that are brand new, typically what we do in our Monday market prep, macro prep, is I kind of prep you for everything that's expected in the markets. And then Boris comes in. He live trades with all of you. So, we go from market prep to live trading, the U.S. equity market open, indices, gold, whatever kind of opportunities are. Many of you are trading gold. So, that is definitely something that we will be talking about and sharing about this morning. So let me go ahead and share with you my screen. Give me 1 second. Not my slides. Share screen. Here we go. All right. So this is my chart of the NASDAQ. So if I remove my indicators, I left on the 30th. And so we've actually had a very nice recovery in the markets since the 30th. But of course, this is NASDAQ futures themselves. And so, what's interesting about this is that NASDAQ futures, they are lower this morning, but because we had a gap, it is now, up from the gap levels. Now, first and foremost, what is the number one lesson that you should know about trading gaps? Let's take a look at this gap. Someone in the room, tell me, you see this gap on Sunday open, and, if you've joined me before, you will know that gaps happen all of the time. So what's the trade here? If you see this gap, okay, the Strait of Hormuz is blocked. It's a really big deal. It's a really bad story. Should you be selling into the move, buying into the move, or Trick question. Standing aside ahead of the until the dust settles. MI Hope Martin, my good friend Martin, who's been with us for a very long time, is absolutely right. I did a post on this morning. Gaps are meant to be filled, and the majority of gaps are filled. And this is gold. You think, the Strait of Hormuz is blocked. The U.S. announced a blockade for the Strait of Hormuz. Gold gaps lower in deleveraging, which could be confusing to some people because you would think that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz should actually be good for gold, but not bad. But these days, gold is trading almost exclusively on deleveraging flows. So that's what you're seeing here. And yes, we do have a little bit of continuation. This is a 15-minute chart. So gaps lower, markets open at markets open at in this case, it's 6 o'clock. Markets open, gaps lower. There's a little bit of continuation for 15 minutes, but really it stops. And the best way to trade gaps is, and this is a quick lesson, the gaps is basically, let me make this my a black line. The best way to trade gaps is you want to isolate the high and you want to isolate the low of the 15-minute candle. So you want to isolate both levels, and basically you want to wait for the breakout. You want to wait for either breakout to the upside or the downside. Now, of course, you could also just wait for stabilization. Usually happens within the first hour. You see stabilization, you buy. This is the first hour over here. You see that there's no continuation. So traders move on, place your stop down here, which is unfortunately is still quite low, and ride the reversal up. And only, basically you're only looking for the gap to be filled. And please be clear, the gaps are not always filled perfectly. They are, close enough into the region. This is, kind of the low here. And it's usually, it misses in this case, it misses the gap. It misses the gap a little bit over here. So it doesn't quite fill it all the way, but you can't be greedy. I mean, pretty much use your levels here in gold. Pretty much, in my opinion, once it kind of hits this level here, you should be out. What about NASDAQ? NASDAQ, the market's open and it gaps lower, right? We isolate our low. We isolate our high. So that's one way to trade. You wait for the breakout ideally, and then you ride the move. And once again, can't be greedy. Can't wait for you can't expect the full gap to be filled, because usually this is being driven by, by something that's happening in the markets. So, make sure that you've got, you're paying attention to this, because this is something that could definitely, lead to a reversal the other way. So make sure, you're kind of paying attention to this, because this could definitely lead to a reversal the other way. And make sure that you're paying attention to any type of movements that we could have in the market on this front. So, this gap is also filled. Now, some of you are saying, take a look at your dollar. Okay, first off, NASDAQ and gold are the big movers, right? And maybe dollar yen. Forex, the gaps are there too. So here, let's think about this. Okay, Strait of Hormuz, it is closed. And so this is actually dollar positive, risk currencies negative. I'm going to write this here, right? And let me get my, hold on. I need to change this color. Okay, let's just make this black. Okay. Strait of Hormuz closed. Okay, so Strait of Hormuz closed. It is positive for the dollar for safe haven reasons, and is negative for risk FX like euro, just because of risk aversion. All right. So this is what you should know when it comes to, these negative headlines like this. This is the way that you should be thinking. Whenever we get a negative headline, it's going to be about dollar safe haven bid. And then, after the dollar safe haven bid, then you're going to see if you get any sort of other opportunity in the other currency. So, euro gaps down, right? Euro gaps down. And it's a little trickier because FX is a little wonkier. But the main thing that you have to realize is that gaps tend to be filled. So Kathy says 15-minute chart. And this opens at 5 o'clock, although, the other indices we're measuring at 6 o'clock, but it really doesn't matter, right? So you should wait for the first, in FX, we're marking the same levels. You should wait for the first 15-minute candle. So in this case, the market opens is 5 o'clock. It's a little wonkier. Now, you don't want to just trade it. You want to watch to see whether it holds the break down or it rebounds off of it. And you can see in this Eurodollar chart, it does try to break the lower level, but these are all spike lows. It doesn't actually close it. And then in the back of your mind, you have to remember gaps tend to be filled. Gaps tend to be filled. And so the opportunity is more to the upside than to the downside. And so, that's really what you have to be paying attention to, because the opportunity is more to the upside than to the downside. And so you see that, and you see that eventually, these are spike lows. You don't want to be selling into spike lows. You want to wait for the candle to close. You wait for the real breakout to the upside, and then that's where you have the nice opportunity. And let's look at one more, just dollar yen. Dollar yen gaps up. And this is obviously, a smoother trade. Euro and the other risk currencies, sometimes a little bit more of a confusion. Dollar yen gaps up. There is an attempt to, have a lower low here, but that these are big wicks. And eventually, at 6 o'clock, that's when the other markets open. It breaks out to the upside, and the gap, the gap isn't filled in Forex, but it has more continuation because it's a bigger story. Gap fills tend to be more prevalent in indices as well as gold. In the Eurodollar itself, it tries to fill it a little bit, but there's a much more greater distance between here and there. Very good question. So the Strait of Hormuz gets shut down at 10 a.m. And of course, we can argue that the market is already pricing this in many ways, right? The market is already pricing this in. Oil prices are already up 8%. We see oil prices up 8% already, or 7%. So the move is already ticking. So once the strait is closed, what happens next? Well, really, it's about what type of actions are taken to block the strait, right? If you think about it, what type of actions are taken to block the strait? And what I really mean by this is, does this mean that, if Iran tries to test this, the U.S. ends up bombing the ships at the Iranian ports? Or Iran, respects the blockade in some ways and just doesn't try? So what happens to the markets depends upon what type of military action is taken to enforce the blockade. Because if you think about it, the U.S. is blocking the strait. Iran is blocking the strait as well. So, and Iran has been attacking. Missiles have been hitting been shot at some of these ships. Is the U.S. going to do the same if Iran tries to test the blockade? Is Iran going to respect the blockade and just not try? I don't know. But I'm not a military strategist. But what I can tell you is that what happens militarily will determine the next move in the markets. If everyone just kind of respects the blockade, then maybe the talks will continue. We'll have to see. But that will really determine the next leg of what happens. And Fred is absolutely right. No one really knows what happens. So instead, the only things that we can truly rely on is, what all of this means to the markets. And the most important thing to realize is, let me see if I can pull up Kobesi report. I'm a huge fan of Kobesi report, Kobesi letter. And I want to show you something here. So the Kobesi letter will show you, and you guys should, I think you should be following this. This is a great place. Okay? This is probably one of the most insightful things that they have posted in relation to this recently. China has massive economic exposure to the Middle East. They have spent over $296 billion in investments and construction since 2005. And they have been the only ones that have been, quote unquote, receiving oil through the strait from Iran during this whole period. So with the U.S. blocking the Strait of Hormuz, they are obviously going to be the ones hurt the most on all of this. So if that is the case, Trump is supposed to visit China in May, which, is just a couple of weeks from now. And, if that visit is threatened, and, that could certainly affect how the markets move. But, in some ways, his visit is still weeks from now. I think what I'm really looking for is a response from China. How will China respond to this blockade? They've been relatively silent watching this train wreck. Sorry. They've been relatively silent watching this train wreck unfold by itself, and really just standing on the sidelines, trying to stay above the fold and just trying to say, that the war needs to end. They need to figure out, what's going on. But now it's impacting them in a much more significant way, and they may not be able to stay silent. And so, depending upon, so I'm watching for a response from China on all of this, and I think you should as well. That is the next greatest headline risk, in my opinion. We know with the Iran war, of course, we're going to watch to see how the military action takes place. But, it's probably going to be a lot of back and forth. And, if the markets continue to sell off, chances are Trump, could, back down. And remember what he said before I left, which is that the Strait of Hormuz, that the U.S. could exit the war even if the Strait of Hormuz is closed. And that would be if, in my opinion, it becomes so unpopular from Americans for Americans that he really feels like he has no choice. So in terms of the Iran war itself, I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth on the Iran war. And in the meantime, I'm going to be looking for any type of responses from China on all of this. So that's really the main focus for me, for the markets. Oil prices, have surged. We have been above these levels before. If you look at the oil chart, we have been, even within the Iran war, and it's almost hard to believe that we are, in day 44 of the Iran war. We're in day 44 of the Iran war, and the oil prices have hit almost $120 a barrel. And I think it will go to $120 a barrel again. And so the question is, how will this impact gas prices? Let's see if we can get gas prices in here. I'm not sure if it's going to pull up, but I don't think it will.
407 as I was coming in on the Palisades. So that's a big markup. It was $3.99 just on Saturday. That's just in one of the lowest places, which is Jersey. So
yeah, and Jersey, Boris is right. Jersey is one of the lowest places for gas prices. We usually look at gasbuddy.com, but GasBuddy is good. I'm sure it's going to be delayed and not updated with the latest gas prices. But if we look at gasbuddy.com and we take a look at this, 406 is the U.S. average as of this morning, 905, 413. So maybe they are really real time. But this is the chart you want to look at. Now, gas prices, the average price of a gallon in the U.S. has gone up to $4.11, $4.12. In some places, it's probably, $5. And so $4, could start looking cheap. And that could also be a huge problem for U.S. Americans as we go into a busier driving season, but also for, of course, businesses not just in the U.S., but businesses abroad, because higher cost of energy is going to hit everything. When I was in Asia, I read about, obviously these articles are much more Asia centric. They talked about how, in Asia, the problem is that the increase in oil prices is impacting the cost and the production of plastics, of different things, of syringes, of medical supplies, because of the cost to create these things, and it's creating some sort of shortage in a lot of these countries. And so it is a global impact. And this is going to have, this is why I think stocks could end up falling, unless, of course, and this is a very realistic scenario, unless, of course, the US decides to suddenly exit for whatever reason. I don't know. But, for now, I think, we had the sharp sell off in stocks, the recovery. And now, people are starting to see that this is not going to end easily. I think we're going to see more losses in stocks. Don't be crying. What was it before, Peter? What was it a month ago? Was it 11 or was it 8 or 9? How was oil prices? I mean, chat, let me know, how have oil prices been in your neck of the woods? Or gas prices been in your neck of the woods, and have they changed? I think that's really the most important thing to ask, which is how have all of these prices changed since even just a month ago or even a week ago? So bottom line is, stocks, I think, have more downside risk unless there's some sort of positive headline, which I can't predict. We can only react to this. Gold, I think also, gold, of course, is tricky because it's also, to some people, safe haven instrument, but I think there's a little bit more downside risk. I mean, $750. I mean, that's like a $3 increase for over $3 increase in a month, which is very burdensome for people all around the world, and is going to affect consumer spending. In California, $5.30, and that's the wholesale BJ price, right? Probably BJ gas station price. It's probably close to $6 in some other areas. And so this is going to be painful, and Americans are going to hit back. It's $5 in Vegas, and that could force Trump, as he had suggested before I left for Asia, to possibly exit the war before maybe even Iran decides to reopen the strait. Bottom line is, from an economic perspective, there's more pain before stabilization, and that's really what I'm worried about. Data-wise, we don't have much going on this week. The main focus is going to be the Beige Book report, which is due for release, as well as the U.S. producer prices. But we did have, U.S. inflation data at the end of last week, and we learned what's quite interesting, that, first off, U.S. CPI did increase from the previous month. It missed expectations, but CPI on a monthly basis is still 3 times higher than the previous month, which is a lot. Year over year, it's at 3.3%. It jumped from 2.4 to 3.3%. This is a huge, huge jump. I mean, look at this. And that's definitely shaped Fed rate cut expectations. This is the highest level of CPI since, 2024. So US PPI is due for release tomorrow. That is definitely going to show hotter levels as well, which could help the US dollar drive stocks even lower. We have Australian business confidence coming out tonight, and consumer confidence. That's obviously going to be, in my opinion, dented by the recent increases in oil prices, as well as the ongoing Iran war. So this, I think, is going to hurt Aussie. We have we have 10 Federal Reserve officials speaking this week. And we also have the Beige Book on Wednesday. So those will be important, but I think it's going to say the same story, which is that they are worried about inflation. They're worried about the economy, and they're just going to wait. We're just going to wait and see how all of this plays out. They're in wait and see mode, but I think it's more of a problem than they have let on at the last FOMC meeting. We also have Australian labor market data, weaker numbers expected there. UK GDP, weaker numbers are expected there. In general, I expect overall global weakness in data. And for the US, we also have Empire State and Philly Fed survey and jobless claims. You can see Philly Fed is expected to be softer as well. So, weakness all around in terms of what the market expects. So we're definitely looking for, some downside risk there. But in general, in terms of US data, there's not much. It's all going to be about headline risk. And right now, the headlines look like they're going to be more negative than positive. We also have bank earnings coming out, and I don't think those are really going to be that encouraging. So a lot going on, a lot to be watching, and a lot to be worried about, especially as the U.S. blockade of the Strait of Hormuz begins at 10 a.m. This is the beginning, in my opinion, not the end of the troubles for the US economy, for the global economy, for the markets, until there's some sort of clarity where US Navy backs away from blocking the Strait of Hormuz, which of course can happen at any point in time. And that could also depend upon, whether Iran shoots its missiles into the US Navy ships, escalating the war even further, making it even more unappealing to Americans who don't understand, why we are, why we're in the midst of this war. So, it's a fluid situation. It could move, in many different ways. Headlines could change in many different ways. Taking a look at gold, we're kind of trapped in a range. Taking a look at the Dow, we've had a really nice recovery. We pull back. I think there are, more losses possibly to the downside in all of this. I do want to say, before I take your questions, the one thing I want you guys to go to is I want you to go to proptraderfest.com. We're having another Prop Trader Fest in May. We've got tons of incredible speakers. Nick Leeson, Linda Rashke. Nick Leeson is the rogue trader. They did a movie on him. Linda Rashke, she was featured as one of the market wizards. Marcy Silfran, she is the number 2 Robbins World Cup champion. Rob Hoffman, 37 times trading champion. We've got, the CEO, we got the leaders of many of the prop firms, Dan Cook from Apex, Brett Simba from Tradeify, AJ from Lucid, Mariam, the curly trader, and lots of really, really Lumi traders, Salma, lots of really great people who's going to be participating in our next Prop Trader Fest. So make sure you definitely join us for that because we've got lots of great lineup this time around. It's a free event. Make sure you register here and, we'll send you all the details once we get it all up and running. So make sure you do that. It's I do not trade with an EA. I trade Zip. It was a fantastic month for Zip. Last week, while I was on vacation, I sent out Zip trades to our traders, and we had so many fantastic Zip trades, just staying true to our setup. And, it was another, great month for Zip. I think we made 149 pips last week while I was on vacation. So definitely, another great period there. And it's just staying true to the setups and, staying true to, our performance. I think, some of the Zip trades that we put on included, I don't have it up right now, but I remember we did the yen trades. My last trades were the yen trades, Swiss yen trade on Wednesday before I went on the flight. This was a Zip buy signal, white candle right there. We had a beautiful white candle and, beautiful continuation in Swiss yen. We also took, I think, was it just Swiss yen? Let me see. Swiss yen, Euro yen also. Beautiful, long setup here, long general continuation setup. So, working really, really nicely for us. Just to give you a glimpse of this, give me 1 second. I'm just going to show you. I think I had, okay, let me pull this up from my Discord here. Hold on. And I'm going to move this over. This shows you, the performance. We've had a fantastic start to the year for Zip. And we haven't had a losing month in Zip in like 24 months. So it's been really, really good just staying true to the setup. If you want to learn more, just go to bktraders.com. You can learn more about my Zip strategy. And also, you can see this BK trend meter I've got over here. This is free with any of our partner prop firms. So, with all of our prop firms, including Ola Prime, Tradeify, Lucid, use code EDGE. You'll get the best discount available. And then for Apex, you want to use code BKSAVE. Apex is running still their 90% off deal. So Edge works for Hola Prime, Lucid, Tradeify. I think Lucid might be doing a 40% off deal right now. So, use that for the best discount. And then you can send us your receipt and we'll send you the BK trend meters telling you, just as Alvin asked, what's going on in CAD Yen. CAD Yen, you can see according to the BK trend meter, this is basically multiple time frame at a glance. that we are positive in the 5-minute, 15-minute, 1-hour charts above the 5, 20, 50, 100 SMAs. And you saw the 1 daily chart just turned positive as well. So still very bullish on CAD yen. And if we look at the daily chart of CAD yen, you can see I'm going to remove the zip and we're going to put, and you can see that we're still looking quite good, still bullish. We're trying to see this high here. So multiple time frame and a glance, still looking, positive here. And you can get these BK trend meters completely free by using, the codes and sending us your receipts. And Boris will tell you more about that when he comes on. All right. So, as I said, it's going to be an online event. Prop Trader Fest is online, this time in collaboration with Prop Firm Match. So it's going to be a great event. Lots of, speakers, lots of great stuff, and looking to bring that all to you on May 9th. It's, the agenda, I'm still working on the website, which is why it's not fully, out, but you can get all the agenda here and you can register now. Tell your friends. It's going to be fantastic. And we're going to be giving out, prop challenges. We are going to be donating money to Project Strong Minds because May is Mental Health Awareness Month and a cause that's also very dear to myself and Boris. So as usual, Prop Trader Fest is a charity event. It is completely free and bringing you some of the best speakers. The date is right here, Judith, May 9th, Saturday. So it's not going to be during the trading day. Lots of great speakers coming to you from this event. And so, definitely register and tell your friends. What is my overall fundamental bias for the dollar? Right now, I'm still bullish. It's still catching a safe haven bid. I think you have to stay with the trend until it bends, and that is the trend in the markets, right now. All right. Any other questions before we bring in Boris, who's going to set you up for live trading on the New York Market Open? PropTraderFest.com. May 9th, our last one was a huge success, great feedback, and I think you'll really enjoy this one as well. And just register, completely free event. Details will follow. All right. Any other questions for me?
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Kay. Thanks, everybody. Crazy week this week, huh, Kay?
Yeah, crazy week, not in terms of data, crazy week in terms of headlines, but that's really been the story for the past couple of weeks, right? It's all really been headline driven. Even the big data that we had over the past couple of weeks, including NFPs, as well as the inflation data, the impact on the markets have been limited. And it's been limited and confusing in some ways, right? Because for example, the inflation data on Friday was weaker than expected, but hotter than the previous month. So, some traders may have been confused on what to make of it. Non-farm payrolls, we had a blowout non-farm payrolls report in the last month with improvement in the unemployment rate. But, I'm not sure, that the market truly believes that it's durable. And in fact, if you look, we had on April 3rd after the NFP report, dollar yen barely moved. What's April 3rd? April 3rd is like this candle right here, which is much smaller than the Thursday candle. So this was NFP Friday, and we barely had movement. So data is mattering much less than the headlines.
Right. I wanted to just put out there, make sure all of you guys who are listening to us, if you're not following Kathy or me on X, it's really a shame because there's a tremendous amount of very, very valuable information that we put out there just for you. So please follow us. As a matter of fact, I put out a video today. I thought everybody should watch it. It's really all about the mathematics of the blockade by the numbers to the Iranian economy. It was basically taken off this very, very viral tweet that went off from a guy who is born Iranian guy who is a former Treasury official, really knows the Iranian economy. The big takeaway from all of it was that Iran has only 13 days of oil production. After that, the thing about oil is, you have to store it, right? You pump it out of the ground, but then you have to store it. If you block the Strait of Hormuz, which is where all their storage tankers are, they only have 13 days before they cannot store it anywhere. And that means they have to turn off the pumps. And once you turn off the pumps, as everybody knows, it becomes, if you're in the oil business, it's almost impossible to turn it back on without with just really long-term damage. So that's the game that everybody is playing right now, I think, or at least that Trump is playing, that I think is going to be very interesting to watch. From the takeaway that I got from this guy was, we're going to take this trade, by the way, while I'm yapping.
What's this trade? What's the trade?
You guys are not watching. You're not watching my screen. I'm long Nasdaq. Never mind. All right, don't worry.
Okay, long Nasdaq. Boris went long Nasdaq. I think you're in the 1 minute charts, right?
It's a tiny little scalp. Yeah, we're taking a trade on Nasdaq. Anyways, the point is, I think that the whole blockade pretty much about a 2-week story before they either cave or or we have pretty much very, very serious problems with the Iranian economy. That's kind of, I think, the timeline for what we're looking for. All of that. The reason I started talking about that is because if you follow me, I put out videos. I'm going to try to put out videos almost every day here on the subject. Watch those. Watch Kathy. And Kay, I was looking for one thing, which I don't have the link for, maybe you do, which is that if you guys really enjoying our content and you love all the free content that we do, I would love everybody who's listening to us to put out a Trustpilot review.
I mean, the link is simply Trustpilot BK Traders, or search BK Traders into Trustpilot. Okay. We're just starting this, so we've got all 5-star reviews, but we're trying to shake off the 7 kind of neutral reviews that they throw in there. So we definitely appreciate you if you add in, even you don't have to be this wordy, just a couple words is good enough to help you along. Exactly. It really makes a difference.
It really, really makes a difference. And we don't ask you for anything in return for all the free content we do, but this is something that we would really appreciate. So if you have a moment, just go out there, just even say best content ever. That's all, 5 stars. I don't need you to say much, but it would really appreciate it because it helps us. It helps other people judge us by what we do. So that's it. Thank you, Kay. I really, really appreciate all your stuff. I got to go. Hang on a second. I got to go find my.
And while Boris is doing this, make sure all of you register for proptraderfest.com. It's on May 9th. As we said, great lineup of speakers, all coming to you, telling you about, everything that's happening, basically all the strategies that they use to trade. We also have, the leaders of prop firms that, you can ask questions to: Apex, Tradeify, Lucid. We have trading platforms that are new and emerging that are really exciting to show, including TradeC and TickBlaze. So definitely, join us for this really engaging event.
If you're at all prop trading or interested in trading, I think 2026 was very much going to be the year of platforms. And there's some really cool stuff coming out, including even like the platforms we're using now, which is Wealth Charts and Tradeovate. A lot of improvements there. But new platforms are coming on board that are also fascinating, like TickBlaze and TradeC. And we're going to have all the representatives of all the platforms over there. So we're going to discuss this in quite a big detail. It's going to make a big difference in terms of how you guys trade and the kind of environment you operate in. So it should be really, really great. So that's it. As far as all the business for the week in terms of content, we're going to start trading in a sec. Any last questions for Kathy before she goes? Make sure you register for PropFest. Make sure you say hi to us on Trustpilot, and make sure you follow us on Twitter. Those are 3 things we just asked you to do. Those are, actually all things for you, because if you follow us on Twitter, you should have an edge in the market for all the stuff that we're going to put out for you.
All right. Enjoy trading with Boris, and have a great session.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks. All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I have a ton of stuff to talk to you about. How's everybody doing? How's everybody's trading going, by the way? How's, what's going on? On Friday, we did our One Trade funding account. That account is already live. I just started it on Wealth Charts. This one, 304. No, sorry, not 304. It's 66. That's not the 68. Sorry, 68 is the funded account. And I just started trading it. We'll talk a lot about some of the stuff that I kind of learned from AI. Trustpilot said, thank you so much. Thank you, Judith. I really, really appreciate it. Everybody else follow Judith. So I want to tell you, first of all, kind of like what I did, while I was gone last week, and what I really did over the weekend a lot, which is I uploaded all of my information to Claude. Claude, if you kind of get advanced in Claude, you can do something called a project where you can just stuff it with all sorts of data, your indicators, your strategies, your trading history and everything else, and have a very, very interesting conversation where it does a bunch of analysis on what's working, what's not working. So would you guys like to know what is absolutely the single most important, the second most important, and the third most important aspect of trading with dots? I want to see 10 plus ones in the room before I tell you the wisdom of AI, which was just mind fucking blowing at what it showed me. While everybody is punching in, don't forget, I'm going to put in the link here. Coaching is this Thursday, and I'm actually going to save the really, really interesting part about how do you get paid, not how you pass. We already know how to pass. Everybody who's in coaching with me passes. He gets funded almost every single week. That part we really mastered. But how do you get paid out? That's going to be a very, very interesting conversation for coaching. It's a lot harder than you think, especially with new rules. And unless you know what's going on, you are going to be a sucker instead of a Sharpie. So I really have the cheat code on how to do that, which is very, very interesting. But before that, where are my plus ones? I only see 4 or 5 plus ones. Okay, I need a couple more plus ones. Coach, you going to be recorded? Yes, absolutely, it will be recorded, Tony. Yes. I got another bite here. What time is it? 9:30. All right. Do I want to do this fuck around trade? No, I'm not going to do it because it's 9:28. We're gonna hold on to my rules. We're not going to trade right into the open. So I'm going to disclose to you in sequence what's most important according to thousands and thousands of points of data, in real data, not just like Monte Carlo simulations, but actually data from my trading, data from the indicator, data from everything else. The most important success filter in dots is actually trading the proper sessions, okay, which is very unexciting. That's like the most disheartening aspect of it, because we are trading literally the single worst session. I'm still going to trade it with you guys because the other 2 rules I'm going to follow. But if you really want to succeed, in trading, you trade only 3 sessions according to the data, which is early Asia, which is like 8 p.m. We got trades here. I'm going to do this. Sorry, I'm watching the charts here for a sec. If this candle holds, I'm going to get long on this thing because we're at the open. I got a couple of green dots and so on and so forth. So the worst time to trade is right now. Okay, the best time to trade is 1300 hours to 1400 hours New York lunch, like sort of late Europe, New York lunch. The second best time is Asia, 8 p.m. to 12 p.m. New York. And the third best time is late Asia, early Europe, 0 midnight New York to 4 a.m. Okay, you can trade like London 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. New York. That's not horrible. The most horrible time is now. Just to let you know, we're trading the worst time now, according to every data set. And I may just eat this particular. Yeah, I'm probably going to eat this trade. Because of course I'm trading the worst fucking time. And the reason why this is the worst fucking time is because it's exactly what's happening. You're going to get massive retraces. Even when you get the signals, the signals retrace, the signals stop you out before they take you to profit, right? And you kind of have to, you either have to just be mentally prepared for that, which is I am. And the best way to be mentally prepared for that is to trade the smallest possible size in order to be able to absorb a lot of these false, false stop out. These are what I would call false stop outs in the sense that the signal is there, but it's just simply retracing you out. And this is a very, very classic aspect of this particular time. So session is number one. Number two, and this is the one thing you can absolutely take into your own control. Number two is trading with VWAP. If you trade with trend, you are 5 to 7% more likely to win. So in other words, without VWAP, you could be as little as 70% accuracy. With VWAP, you could be at 80%, sometimes even 82% accuracy, depending on everything else. I just got stuffed out on this fucking trade, like I deservedly so. Trading with trend, the single most important thing you can do to increase your accuracy, right? And number three, and actually, in fact, this is number two, because if you don't have this, you don't have three. In other words, if you don't have this particular aspect of it, which is green trend, like a rate of change, then you don't. It doesn't matter. Like trend is irrelevant if you're in a choppy market. So the first order of business is you need a market that has continuity in it. The second order of business is you want to trade with trend. And the third order of business, you want to trade in sessions. That's sort of like your most important aspect of trading, right? So like right now I'm going to do all sorts of bad things with you guys right now because, hang on, I'm just waiting to see what I can do here. If this thing recovers trend, I'm probably gonna take it. Because we're basically going to. I want to see if this recovers trend. I'm going to try and take the trade. Okay. Let's see if this is going to help me go. Boom. Okay. Very nice. So what I do to, in the best possible worlds, you trade those sessions, you trade trend, you trade the dots. By the way, the most important aspect of this thing is that you really only want to take trades that are dots on the trading view. You guys still don't have this latest version that I am working on. This is my own proprietary version. I will update this tonight for everybody on Trade-Evade. I'm working with wealth charts. We're very close to kind of getting 90% of this version done. And then we have like one last thing, which is the ROC, rate of change. Like we've gotten the dot density and the PPP delta. There's three trend components: dot density, PPP delta, and ROC. I've got two of those working on wealth charts. We're just going to see if we can, if they have the time and the effort to do the ROC. If they don't, it's not the end of the world, because the most important part is just having these two in here as signals. And you only take, like, honestly, the only thing you want to do if you want to have any chance of consistent success is, right now we're above VWAP. The only trades you want to take are the green dots, right? You just want to take anything that's a green dot. And if you kind of do that and you rotate your accounts, so, of course, you're always going to get a couple of losing trades, but as long as you rotate your accounts and the losing trade stays in one account, you just go to all the other accounts, your other accounts are all going to absolutely grow as the day grows. Like you can actually see in my broker portfolio. Oh, you can't see this because, hang on a second. This is just me putzing around with wealth charts. Oh, fuck. Come on. Hang on a second. All right. Yeah. You see me over here. Ignore this one because this is just a bullshit account that I'm working on. But these are all real. These are the funded accounts, and you see me growing the P&L, right? Just growing the P&L, growing the P&L. If you do that, that's all I've been doing. It's just trading in this case, just primarily green dots because we've been above VWAP since early Europe. Only trading the long side. That's all you need to do. You really don't need to do anything else but that. The hardest lesson was to basically learn to take trend trades only. Now you want to trade counter trend. You want to just fuck around. That's what the fuck around account is for. The one that I had like big losses in. That account is dead because that's actually the account that was our secondary account on the one trade funded, the debt account. But the good thing that happens is that Apex stops you out at minus 500. So it preserved $500 worth of my equity. So I've been trying to kill it by screwing around with it on reverse trades. And you can do reverse trades if you're bored, and you can certainly make money on reversal trades as long as you got you're trading the red dots over here, especially at the beginning of New York. But that is not serious trading. I'm telling you that if you want to make money and not lose money, if you don't have to do fuck around trades in a fuck around account, be my guest. But if you want to do serious trades, you only do trades to trend. The single most incontrovertible result or analysis of all of, and this is over 1,000 data points, is that you're going to be a 7 to 8% more edge positive trading with trend. And you see that, right? I'm just a notoriously counter trend trader. But when I was faced with that data, I realized just how stupid it was. I mean, you're basically blowing up accounts trading counter trend. That's just the bottom line. It doesn't mean that trend is always going to work. Trend absolutely needs volatility. Trend, sort of this thing needs to be green. If you're in a kind of a gray area, it doesn't matter. You're not going to win regardless whether you're trading with trend. But if you have this green and you have trend, you have an 85% chance of winning on every single scalp that we take. Right? Sorry, English, what do you mean by Rob Hoffman? Is Rob Hoffman yelling at me all the time to trade with trend? Yeah, he's absolutely right. No, I'm using my own internal data, my own internal indicators. It's all organic to what we do. Infotainment. What I did was I have our dots indicator, our dot strategy. And the question was, given every single trade I've done over thousands of trades, given how the indicator works, given how we put in all these things, what are the results? And that's what it is. So it's based upon real data, not about some projected data of some made up indicator. This is all empirical information that I'm sharing with you, which is very interesting and kind of very eye opening. I'm wondering if you guys give me a +1 if you guys have come to the same conclusion, or at least if you're honest enough to admit that is literally the better side. That do you find that trading counter trend you lose more money than trading with trend? Give me a +1 if you think that trend is a dominant trade, is the dominant side here. And by trend, I literally mean VWAP. It's not very complicated. Yeah, I see everybody's trend biased, right? Yeah, and and I'm like the worst influence on everybody. So I'm going to try not to be that influence on everybody, because I'm a notorious counter trend trader. I love to fuck around. I love to do all sorts of stupid things. And those are kind of just useless things. The biggest problem with following this particular method is that when you get this kind of bullshit, and then you get a lot of this kind of bullshit on choppy days, is we could have half an hour of there's no legitimate trades right now. It doesn't fucking matter if there's the greatest red candle in the world. It's not a legitimate trade because we're uptrend, right? And so you wind up just chasing all these tiny little red candles because you just want to be in trades, when the much more intelligent thing is to do absolutely nothing. But that's very, very hard, especially when we're live trading and want to do 10, 20 trades in an hour. Yeah. So So that's sort of like the information from the data analysis, which is kind of interesting. And you see, by the way, like right now, you see how we're really literally in chop, right? Everything is just flat as fuck, and there is nothing to do. And that's the smart thing to do. The smart thing to do is nothing to do. But of course, we love to be in trades, so we love to just do a lot of screw around trades. The best panacea, the best solution that I found for this is just find one. First of all, guys, by the way, I meant to tell you, 90% still in play for Apex. Everybody go out there, just buy a fuck ton of accounts. I bought some more. Even after we got funded, I said, like, I think I have 3 or 4 spare. Get a few more spares. And by the way, this is a perfect example of where you want to get the spares for fuck around trades. You want to do counter trend trades. You want to do stuff that is really not good, but you want to have fun with it. Well, that's what those bullshit trades, bullshit accounts and bullshit trades are for. It gives you a chance to practice. It gives you a chance to understand, but it also shields you from distributing those dumbass trades into like right now. This is a terrible account. I'm going to kill this account, but here it is. I'm going to, it's not a buy trade. We're in chop, but I got a little bit of a white dot here. If it holds, not even hold. I could put this around just because we want to have a little bit of a participation trophy trade here. This is literally what they are. These are participation trophy trades, right? But let's see if it works. But that's what you try and do, is you just basically try to have these cheap accounts in which you can practice trades. And the best one is to do. There we go. See, even a wrong clock is right twice a day. So we scalped 5 points for fun. Yeah, the bullshit accounts. But that's, you laugh, but it's actually a very, very good psychological and physical trick, because what it means is you segregate all your dumbass trades into dumbass accounts, and you don't lose those funding accounts for which you've paid a lot of money, you worked really, really hard for, and then you tend to lose them like in a week, right? You lose them in a week because you did a lot of dumbass trades in those accounts. Like, you just segregate stupid trades for stupid accounts. Like, this is a account that I don't really care about. I can take lots of experimental trades with you guys just for fun. But as long as we don't have a serious signal here, we don't have a serious trade, right? Yeah, participation trophy, exactly. It's a very Gen Z thing, right? But that I thought about this, because you're going to want to scratch that itch. There's no such thing as not scratching the itch, but you might as well scratch the itch on something that doesn't really matter. And the beauty of Apex, of course, is you can just what do you care? You could torture a $50,000 PA account, not a PA account, evaluation account for a month on one or two micros. You could torture that account forever and not lose it, and just experiment and try different ideas and all sorts of other stuff, without really hurting yourself, right? Now, here's New York session. We are, we tested the highs of London, came off. Probably very likely, by the way, London is pretty tight, right? Astrologer. I mean, it's a really tight session. It's like 100, 125 points. So are we going to test to the lows of London? Probably. Do I want to, I don't have any signals with trend, but, do I want to sell this for continuity? Yeah, why not? I actually wanted to sell it over here, but I was yapping away with you guys. Let's see if this still gives me a little bit of a scalp. But the point being is there really is no trades right now that are legitimate that you want to take. If you want to put them into like I'm doing, into just this little account that I really don't care about, good. You can practice a little bit of the shorts. And it's not that the shorts don't work. Like, if you get good enough, you could actually create, I'm going to do a counter trend only account, very, very specific, where you have a clean turn, right? Like right over here. This definitely would have been a good trade over here. If you took it now, I'm going to eat this because there's two things, by the way, about every trade. There is the proper filter and then there's the execution, right? And not only do I screw up the proper filter, but I screw up the execution on this trade too. So it is far more important to execute well than to filter well, right? So it just goes to show you how important execution is. Even if you have all your filters correctly, which by the way are very, very important, right? It's not that they're not important. Like you can execute perfectly, but have bad filters, you're still going to lose. But if you have good filters but execute badly, you will definitely lose. That's how important execution is to trading. And that's another important thing to kind of understand. And that's why fucking around accounts are really good, because you can time your execution. You can play with your execution because you're not restrained by filtering, right? Like I instead of yapping, I should have just simply been short here. Yeah, I think London astrology. I totally agree with you that the London low is going to be. I think London low is going to be tested before we go off air. I think we're gonna just dump this a little bit. We're range bound. Markets are kind of everybody is sort of hoping for the best, not wishing for the worst. As I said, watch my video on the blockade. There's some very interesting math behind all of this. You can see the Iranians are freaking out already. They're like, it's an act of war. We're not gonna allow this. Blah blah blah. Europeans, of course, being pussies like they always are, not really helping with the blockade, and actually hurting themselves very badly because the true victims in all of this is the Europeans who have zero access to energy and zero access to. What's going on here? Is this 10 o'clock? Is there news? Did somebody just yap something out? No, that's a small move. That's a small move. Let's see if there's anything on Newsflow. Oh, you know what? I told you guys, by the way, I think I mentioned this before. The plugin, the Financial Juice plugin into TradingView is price is stable due to U.S. ceasefire, but may rise, blah, blah, blah. No, there's nothing here. It's just a big pop. This is actually a legit buy candle for us. Let's go to 42 account. Okay, let's go to this account. This is a big pop. Worth taking a shot. So this is boom. And you see how fast that was? You see how fast that was? That was a legit buy trade with, let me show you. Boom, boom. Then took me less than a second. By the way, do you want to know? Okay, this is another super interesting takeaway from Claude. Something has gone on here. I'm trying to figure out where the news flows. Where's my news flow? Where is my news flow? Come on, baby. Something must have hit. No, not yet. I mean, we're late here. Justin, Tom Lee, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I guess it's 10 o'clock. The markets are kind of rising on the, it's the Spain rejects Hormuz blockade. Spain is going to be out of NATO by the end of this year, in my opinion. Anyways, that's interesting. So hey, astrologer, we were wrong because of course some kind of a news bomb hitting right now that we are not seeing. I don't know what's going on the news. This would have been another good signal, but I'm late on execution, so I'm not taking it. I want to take no more than 3 consecutive green dots here. So this is the third green dot. Clearly something going on here, but I just don't have the news flow here. Yeah, Tony, he's not my mayor. And honestly, I wish him I wish him as much success as I wish the Ayatollah Khomeini, his spiritual father. Okay, I'm long here. Late. Fuck. I got killed on this trade because this was already a third one. I usually like to not see. This is also a perfect example of this type of hour where we just get retraced out. But these two trades were very good. The first two trades were very, very good. The third one was already too far, but that's fine. We'll come back on this on this trade. When I find a good strong signal, I'll come back on it. Oil dropping hard. Is the blockade not going into effect? What the fuck? Iranian officials are studying abandoning uranium enrichment. I knew. Okay, I knew these pussies are gonna fucking fold now. Yeah, that's why we popped. Okay, this is probably still good. We're not done with the rally yet. I knew there was something on the news here. We were just late at getting it. I'm just watching. We're pretty extended to the thing. Hang on just 1 second, guys. I'll be right back. Simba, what are you doing? Simba, stop. Dog is scratching something. I thought it was not working. All right, here's a little trade that I really kind of like to do. If this holds, if it's a red dot against a green moving average, I buy this on a contrarian basis here. I'm going to buy this. See if basically the idea is it's not close enough. I'd love for it to have been at the moving average, but I think it's pretty good here as a bump. Let's see. Is it going to bump me up? Come on, baby. Come on. It's kind of like a value at trade at plate trade, not a classic trade, not a classic dot trade, but just a little bit of a play around trade. This is actually the trade I should be doing here. Let's see if I'm going to buy some more here. Let's see if we can get this up. Deviating from my dot setup, but this is not a horrible setup. It's structurally within what we like to do, which is we're uptrend, we're coming down to the moving average as a support level, and I'm trying to buy the support level here. As you can see, I bought it. Come on, resolve for me. Resolve. Come on, resolve. All right, you know what? Screw it. I'm out of it. Good enough. Made a little bit of money. I'm still in the position. Sorry, this position. Now, okay, good. So we resolved it properly. No green dot, by the way. No, as long as this green dot doesn't really count. I'm only looking for the green dots over here. It's not giving me a green dot because interesting. I don't know why it's not giving me a green dot yet. Because it's not. Because trend has a, oh, that's interesting. Oh, huh. All right. Well, I will wait. I'm not. There's no green dot here, so I'm not taking the trade. Okay. Now we get the green dot here. If this green dot holds, we'll take it. As I said to you, I think if this is positive news, it means the Iranians have blinked, and they may remember U.S.'s number one goal is to get the Iranians to agree to stop uranium enrichment. They're going to lie, they're going to cheat, they're going to steal, they're going to do everything in their power. But the very fact that they're going to commit to this will then open them up to proctology exam inspections, because the U.S. is just simply not, we're not going to be like the Obama administration, take their word for it. And I think that's going to put them on a very, very weak footing, at least for the time being. Right now, they're just trying to survive. Like any caged animal, they're trying to survive the best they can. And they're willing to lie and say that they're going to, stop doing, uranium enrichment, I think, at this point. But I think, Trump is smart enough to, to hold their feet to fire on this. We'll see. There's clearly a huge faction of the IRGC that wants to fight on to glorious death, which would be my choice. But I think Trump really doesn't want the war to continue for much longer. Yes, the blockade is went into the effect at 10 o'clock, which is basically almost now. But we're all trading off this headline off of Walter Bloomberg. There is a studying abandoning uranium enrichment as a U.S. condition for ending the war. Like, in other words, they're going to abandon it. But once they go on this, then he can push them on everything else. That's what we're trading on essentially as an uptrade. But I don't have any dots yet here, so I'm not really pressing the upside trade. But this is a sort of an off the menu trade. This kind of a trade where you have positive slope, green, red, sell off into a positive slope. As long as the slope holds positive, even if you have a red candle into positive slope, generally a very, very decent value at play trade, right? That's the key thing that I just wanted to show you. But for now, I really only want to trade my dots. I got no dots. I got no trades right now. New York session high at around 300, somewhere in there, 94. I mean, it seems like we want to run that, but I think the market wants to see a little bit more confirmation that the Iranians are coming to the table, right? You see how trend goes gray, like the whole trend block goes gray. That's obviously telling you that there's very little continuity action in the marketplace. Not much for us to do. We only scalp when the whole thing turns green. And like if this thing, what's the high over here? It's 80.50. That's interesting. Why this isn't? Because the slope is red. Slope is red, right? Slope is red. It's not even not even popping on the slope here. That's why it's suppressing that signal. It's frustrating to have to be patient with the filter, right? But the filter 9 out of 10 times is going to keep you on the right side of the trade. Yes, sometimes you're going to get lucky, get early in the trade, but it's actually better to be late and correct than early and wrong, right? I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, but my impulse is always to be early, and that's why I'm often wrong. But if my impulse was always to be late, I'd probably be right a lot more times off my own indicator. All right, I got a green dot, session highs. This is all really setting up for a clean purchase for us right over here on the 42 account. So we'll see. I'm going to 4 or 5. I'm going to practice I'd rather be late. I'm going to wait for this candle to totally finish up. Boom, I'm in the trade. Bad execution. But let's see if this is going to pop me up. Come on. There we go. And we're done. Just another example of, stick to the filter, stick to the rules. You're going to get done. Every filter rules trade I did today worked perfectly fine. So this is still a good trade. 20 seconds left. This candle holds. We still have a good trade. It's only 2 greens in trend for us. I give myself 3 consecutive ones, and then I stop because then it gets too overbought. So again, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till this candle completes. Okay, come on. Let's see if I get any continuity. No, I'm gonna get retraced out here. Nope, I get stopped out. That was still a legit trade. That was a totally legit trade. It just simply died out on the vine at session highs, which is fine. I'm going to rotate out to the 50 account. See what I can do there. All right, this whole ROC thing you guys don't have yet. I'm going to talk to you about it tomorrow. I'm going to publish it tomorrow for you guys. This is still experimental for me, just doing final testing on it. This is a tough trade because we were just really stretched away from the moving average, and it's the typical. It's probably going to be directionally correct, but it just took me out on a quick retrace. This is like kind of a classic red candle on a green slope. You want to, I'm just waiting patiently to see if it's going to be a buy. Wait till this candle closes, and I'll just trade this kind of an off the menu trade. All right, I'm in. Boom, 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 and you see how easy that was. That off the menu trade is kind of very clean on a quick scalp. Just boom, boom, because you're right at support. You're still green slope. It's a pretty good value trade. That's correct, Rainer. I think that's probably the most accurate read on the whole situation. Best times to trade during the New York session is between 1 and 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Best times to trade is 8 to 12 midnight Asia, and then midnight to 4 a.m. Asia. Those were the optimal times. The worst time to trade is absolutely now. Absolutely now. 9 to 11 is when all the bleed happens, which is, you see me like, we're doing okay, but it's only because I'm just kind of taking only the best filtered trades, and I'm still getting clipped out because what happens during this particular session, this is what everybody this is what AI really helped me understand. It's not that you're not going to get continuity signals. It's just you're going to get stopped out before you get the continuity signals. That's what happens a lot in NASDAQ, right? All right, now we're session highs, green dot. Got to go for this if this holds. That's a legit trade. If it holds. No trade. Well, maybe. We'll see. Let's wait. Yep, trade. That was a legit signal. You see, I'm queuing off this signal over here. So we'll see if I can get any continuity here. There we go. Nice clean machine, right? Sort of like boom, boom. We're over there. All right, let's rotate out of this one. Let's see. Go to this one. I'm just basically rotating into all of my funded accounts, scalping, and rotating in, scalping, rotating in, just doing the same signal. Could be a resistance, absolutely. We'll see if they try to break it. If I have a green dot, I'm going to take it. I'll keep pressing it higher. Good morning, everybody. Who's coming to me from where? Some exotic places. Post them up. Oh, fill the gap. Oh my God. Thanks for pointing that out. I meant to say that we actually, we opened up. Astrologer is absolutely right. Let's just take a look at this on a larger scale. I was thinking about this. I didn't even get a chance to talk about this. We opened up on gap, and we actually filled it right here. This is the gap. We're at 313. This was our opening gap, right? We dropped, and now we spent the whole day filling the gap, and now we're probably going to correct a little bit off the gap, which makes sense. Makes perfect sense. Where's my bullshit account? There's my bullshit account. I'm going to take a short here as kind of a gap reversal trade. See how much fun it is to scalp with size and counter trends and everything else in my little bullshit account. But this is, these are all not these are non-kosher trades, non-halal trades. Because, against trend, no signals whatsoever here, not worth it. But, they were clearly very tempting, basically gap fill reversal trades for a little bit of money. So I took them for fun. No, it's not a coincidence, my friend. Of course, it's not a coincidence. Nepal. Wow. Nepal is wild. What other is anybody from Africa? Iowa. Okay, Iowa is pretty exotic too. Have you ever heard of kosher pork? Yes, is incredibly contentious item in rabbinic circles because, as usual, technology streams ahead of religion. Kosher pork is basically shit. I forgot what the biological, metric there is for that, but they kind of create, it's either synthetic pork or they create a pork that doesn't, have a split hoof or something. I forgot what it is. And so the whole point is once technology changes the rules, how does religion deal with it? Of course, it hates it because then it has to try to reinterpret and say, oh no, we actually meant this, but no, we meant this. But that's why we meant this. It has a higher meaning than what we're saying. So, I'm sure the rabbis hate the whole idea of kosher pork. But technically, which is another very Jewish thing, if you know something that's called Talmudistically, where we are very, very good at doing the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. This is definitely following the letter of the law, not the spirit of the law. I think the story with Iran is that there is an enormous amount of different factions in the country right now. And of course, the IRGCs are messianic, like they don't care. Remember, the whole religion is I'd rather die and kill you than live and let you live, right? The whole ethos of that religion is I'd rather die and kill you. In jihadi is not regular Islam, but jihadi Islam. That's what it is. And so, they don't care. They would rather be martyrs. It's, that's why you can't really argue with them. Like, I don't understand why nobody understands that it's like dealing with Nazis. The only way you kill, the only way you deal with Nazis is to kill them all. Unfortunately, the problem is, it's like, imagine if the Nazis were holding 60 million Germans hostage. That's the difference, right? It's just like majority of the Iranians hate these motherfuckers. And to truly kill them all, you have to, unfortunately, have a lot of collateral damage. And I think that's such a terrible, terrible choice. And Trump administration obviously doesn't want to do it either. But it's just a terrible choice. Yes. That's actually pretty kosher. Pepperoni made out of beef that tastes like pepperoni. Like, they get away with it all the time. That's not as controversial. Quiet morning, guys. We actually managed to scalp out a little bit of good flow, right? Ignoring my bullshit account, I'm up on all my other accounts. Here, where am I? Yeah, we're up on all the other accounts slightly. There's not much to do here, but there's plenty of the day left, so we'll see. Oh, you know what I'm going to tell you? The last takeaway from all the analysis of at least my type of trading, what AI told me, and this is super interesting, and it's really true. It's just so hard for me to accept that verdict. I've been trying really hard. All my winning trades take 2 minutes or less. In fact, 90% of my winning trades are 30 seconds or less. If you see all my successful trades, they're almost instantly resolved. So the rule of thumb is, the AI said you really should just simply stop out after 1 minute. But, I just can't bring myself to do that. Even at 2 minutes, I can't bring myself to do that. But trust me, if you were in a trade, if you're trading, dot scalper trades like I am, off the signals like I am, and it's not done in 2 minutes, your absolute best behavior is to stop out. Even if it goes into profit and you're like, oh, if I stopped myself out, but it went to profit. Because it will go into profit 2 out of 10 times and will go into loss like 8 out of 10 times. You're just basically being affected by recency bias. But the data just incontrovertibly says, if the trade isn't done in 2 minutes, it's a shit trade when it comes to scalping. Coming off the reversal, just like astrologers said, we totally reversed off these moves now, right? So now, I have nothing to do when we have these, when we're trading with trend, and you have these retrace slices. Your only job is to sit tight, or trade the retrace slice, in your bullshit account. You're mentally blocked for other trades. Sorry, what do you mean, Nico? Mentally blocked when? Oh, holding. Oh, yeah. If it's holding for 2 minutes, yeah, you're right. You don't have the opportunity to take other trades. That's true. But honestly, if you're in that 2 minutes or longer, you're not having signals. So it's not like this other trade unless you're looking at other instruments. Yeah, I know the data is just so brutal in its results. If it's you have your edge completely disappears after 2 minutes. Your only edge after 2 minutes is hope. And hope is not a strategy. But that's something, that's like the last piece of behavioral trading that I have to work with. I have really, really done a good job of just not falling for the contra trend trades. You've noticed that all of my real trades have been with trend today. They've all been good, right? Even though, like, you could have said, "Oh, look at all these little red scalps we could have done." Yeah, you're absolutely right, English. The actual data said 1 minute. It said that 90% of your trades that are destined to win in the small scalp window of where I'm doing five points are going to resolve within 1 minute. Now, maybe the only thing I need to do is drill it down further by session, and because I think that that's just not realistic in Asia. Sometimes they can actually float for 4 or 5 minutes in Asia because it's so quiet. But I'll have to double check that. Also, now that I know how to do a lot of the back testing, we can continuously add fresh, every single day I'm generating 30, 40 trade samples for the data to analyze. So within 10 days, you have a very decent data set from which you can extrapolate some interesting insights. Hang on a second, guys. I just want to check something. Okay, nothing going on yet. See if there's any fresh insight in on news here. That's probably pretty accurate that it's not going to be lifted in a week. Like I said, 13 days. I think it's going to come down to like a 2-week conversation. All right, popping back up. Not a buy trade, but actually we can go in. This is our shit account, right? So might as well try that. Why not? See if this is a small reversal trade. But for us, what we really want, in order for it to be a legitimate buy trade, we want slope to be green, dot density and PP delta to be positive, like positive momentum movement in price as well as slope. But, as very often is the case, the the imperfect trade worked in this case because we did a little bit of reversal. One cool thing about like watching dots from a classic technical analysis point of view, you can literally see that basically the retraces is higher, higher lows. Like this is a higher low of this. By the way, ooh, nice big pop. Oh shit, I want to go long here. I want that go on in a real account. Hang on. Buy. Fuck. What happened here? Did I buy it? No, 0. Sorry. Again, bad execution. I was just rotating my accounts. So I'm in here. That would have actually got me done, but I came in late. Now I'm going to eat this execution probably. Let's see if this is going to get me done. Nope. See this trade here from 92 to 301 was a perfect trade. I just simply was late on the execution. You know what I realized, by the way, is that I need to be a lot faster. Like I'm being too lackadaisical in my like, oh, it's not ready to turn yet. It's actually ready to turn on the next candle off the signal. If I can't just fuck around and not be ready for the trade. Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna get killed. I got see the perfect example. I was in this trade for too long. Had the trade, didn't execute it properly, and now that trade got flipped the other way, which is a shame. Fuck. All right. Let me rotate my accounts. Let's go to 62 account. So yeah, I mean the point was as kind of like we had a oops, let's go. Boom. Okay, legit trade. This is a green dot here. Good execution on the close. Let's see if this holds. If this doesn't work, it's just simply a retrace. It's a totally good trade that just simply retraced me out. But hopefully this will work on a scalp. All right, I'm getting out. Doesn't matter if this trade works or not because it's been 2 minutes, right? I'm going to follow my own rules. I'm just going to, it did not complete in 2 minutes. I don't care if this thing pops down because the flip side of it is it's just going to eat more P&L for me. I'd rather wait until I get another signal that's better and trade that signal. So we'll wait. That's sort of like the new thing that I'm trying to learn, teach myself to be able to kind of trade a little bit better. An easy way to know that, if you have 2 candles, that's 2 minutes, it hasn't done it, get out. And, you see it totally confirmed that, right? Because we're just going down now. All right, a couple more minutes, guys, and then we're going to wrap up today's session. Because I know Will 365 is coming. Everybody wants to go there. Oh, the other thing that was interesting, days of the week. Monday was pretty shitty. The best days were Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. No surprise. So today is absolutely the worst time, the worst day, worst everything to trade. I'm still managing to stay alive and make money, but that was sort of also interesting from all the data. And you could tell today is just a churn day. We're not really moving. I'm trading five up, 20 down, like it's usual, 20-80. But I'm getting out quite a lot of times before the full 80 stop. If if in 2 minutes it hasn't done like I did with this one, I'm just getting out of it, What's the best account to buy on TraderFi? Growth or Select? I don't know. It depends on what you want to do. Oh, wow. You used to work at 55 Water? Oh, my God. We used to, oh, my God. What was FXCM's? We were at 20 Water, right? Oh, my God. I think, we were 20 Water for the longest time. We were 20 Water. Friday's your worst day? Interesting. Yeah. Monday, Friday are always the most choppiest, because remember, what are we trading? We're trading continuity. Continuity requires participation. Participation requires attention, activity, and focus. When is there least amount of participation, activity, and focus? On Mondays, right? That's when it doesn't really play out. Still waiting for a green dot here. You could tell how few signals there are on the filtered versus how many there are on the unfiltered, right? I'm just trying to see if there's going to be one last green dot for us to take. See if we can get that flowing. 39 seconds. We're going to wait. Early tomorrow PPI. Maybe, yeah, it might be worth. I mean, there's nothing else this week, right? So we probably should be trading PPI. I might do it. Yeah, I might do it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's see. Okay. Ooh, how fast that was. You see that? You see how fast that was? Ba-boom, ba-boom. Right into the trade. That was literally 1 second. That's exactly the kind of trades we want. You took it too? Nice job, astrologer. Yeah, now I'm telling you, filtered dots are, we call it the Brita dots, right? They're triple filtered. Those are the best kind. Although I don't think this one was not going to show up, and I think that's going to be the final trade. The final trade of the day that we just did was our trade of the day. I'm gonna just, this is pretty much good to go. I'm gonna just finish it up, and then I will be publishing this tonight for everybody for tomorrow. And I do think we probably will do. Let's see. Yeah, we probably should do core PPI. Doesn't hurt, right? Could be really hot. It's the only event this week, so might as well do it. Yeah, we will do it. We'll trade tomorrow 8 to 10. We'll trade the news event. See if we can get that. Get another account funded for us. Okay. Okay, my friends. Good Monday morning. We survived the Monday churn without any major destruction to the accounts, and more importantly, I think most of the accounts are net positive. I think if you look at this, let me see. Except for my bullshit account, as I said to you, let me go over here. This portfolio is pretty clear. Yeah, just a tiny little red over here, but it's all green. This is obviously, even this one, I'm coming back on. Like this, I'm just for shits and giggles, I'm going to try and get this back up to 0. But yeah, all the other accounts are okay. And I think, I still have the best hour ahead of me, the 1 to 2 o'clock hour. I told you, one of the things that I want to do once we get the wealth charts completely working and ready. I do have a signal. Okay, one last signal maybe setting up for us. We will trade the power hour at least, maybe Tuesday, Wednesday, because that is a very high probability hour for the kind of trades we want to do, and we'll do them. All right, hold on. We do have a signal. I'm going to take this signal if it holds. 306s, we cleared the 300, so hopefully we get a little bit of a runner here. All right, I'm in. Let's see if the signal holds. It's my target. My target is 309. Target is 309. Jesus Christ. What is it? My 304 is my entry? Okay, 309 is my target. Yeah, it's dying out. Oh, I'm just going to get out. No point. It's already, if it didn't do it in the first minute, total waste. We'll come back again. Look for a new signal. I mean, that's the key thing. You just have to be patient with the signals on a very, as I said, Monday, the worst day, worst time to trade. Okay, we got a little bit clipped, but I guarantee you, I'll get back before the end of the day. Especially, I'm going to hold off till the 1 o'clock hour to to trade this. And if the session is good, I'm sure I'm going to be able to capture it all back. The key thing is keep the bleeding to a minimum. And that's what I'm trying to do right now. All right, guys, everybody have a great day. I will see everybody tomorrow for the 8 o'clock early morning show. We are going to do gold tonight. I think probably 7 to 8 is probably going to do gold 7 to 8 New York time. Okay. And I'll see you guys then. Everybody have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye. Oh, don't forget, as always, Apex. Get some accounts right now before they go away. Thank you so much, guys. Bye-bye.